Welcome to another episode of Stand Tall. August is here. Adaptations, Chapter 8, aka Variation in Tactics. Jang Yu opens up before Master Sun speaks and says that adaptation means not clinging to fixed methods, but changing appropriately according to events, acting as is suitable. So, before we go back to an alternative translations, let's first read the very first day, the very first one. First, we're going to flip ahead to 9. So, there's only 14 teachings in the variation of tactics. So, perhaps this will be an interesting month. Sun Tzu said, in war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign, collects his army, and concentrates his forces. In this one, they choose a couple of them to go over. They say the general rule, Master Sun says, the general rule for military operations is that the military leadership receives the order from the civilian leadership to gather armies. Let there be no encampment on difficult terrain. Let diplomatic relations be established at borders. Do not stay in barren or isolated territory. When on surrounded ground, plot. When on deadly ground, fight. GLN says, being on surrounded ground means there is steep terrain on all sides, with you in the middle, so that the enemy can come and go freely, but you have a hard time getting out and back. When you are on ground like this, you should set up special plans ahead of time to prevent the enemy from bothering you, thus balancing out the disadvantages of the ground. Li Quan says, place an army in a deadly situation, and the soldiers will make it their own fight. That's some pretty heavy stuff from the Art of War as far as adaptability. Wow. I'm going to go over to a visualization of the Art of War and see what we have to say here. Okay, so they talk more about like authority and responsibility, defending and earning, defending respect, earning respect. Frustration is kind of like when you have not a whole lot of authority but a lot of responsibility. So just, I think a lot of this is just setting the stage for being aware of our surroundings, and so that we may adapt visualizing things. So let's go over to August in the Daily Stoic. Okay, so get yourself a copy of this. Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman have done a fantastic job. August is pragmatism. So let's tie pragmatism to variation in tactics. August 1st, don't go expecting perfection. That cucumber is bitter, so toss it out. There are thorns on the path, then keep away. Enough said. Why ponder the existence of nuisance? Such thinking would make you a laughingstock to the true student of nature, just as a carpenter or cobbler would laugh if you pointed out the sawdust and chips on the floors of their shops. Yet while those shopkeepers have dustbins for disposal, nature has no need of them. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 8.50. We want things to go so perfectly. We tell ourselves that we'll get started once the conditions are right, or once we have our bearings, when really it'd be better to focus on making do with things that actually are. Marcus reminded himself, don't await the perfection of Plato's Republic. He wasn't expecting the world to be exactly the way he wanted it to be, but Marcus knew instinctively, as the Catholic philosopher Joseph Piper would later write, that he alone can do good who knows what things are like and what their situation is. Today, we won't let our honest understanding of the world stop us from trying to make the best of it. Nor will we let petty annoyances and minor obstacles get in the way of the important job we have to do. Okay, I gather a lot from this. First is the Joseph Piper quote when he wrote, he alone can do good who knows what things are like and what their situation is. Yeah, that's an adaptability, right? Maneuverability, kind of following up, kind of know where you're at in relation to what's going on, and being able to empathize with people, and you know what their situation is because you know you've kind of been there yourself. And so don't wait for perfection, right? And stand, I guess, on the fence before making a decision. You kind of have to just have to do it, and you can't worry about a bitter cucumber. or thorns on the path, as it were. So little petty annoyances or minor obstacles get in the way of the important job we have to do. He closes it up. I mean, and just like that's a nice little open and close, you know, a bitter cucumber, a thorny path, a petty annoyance, a minor obstacle. And even though we might have a different understanding of the world as Stoics, or, you know, doing these daily meditations and reflections, whether we have a rosy hue or a negative hue, you know, it doesn't stop us from trying to make the best of it out of every situation. And so the pragmatist approach would be to adapt in bad situations, just like the art of war. And so even though this month has only you know 14 teachings, we're going to make the most of it. We're going to adapt, and we're going to come up with something on the fly. And so we're going to keep standing tall. And I hope that you guys got something out of that. I hope you like and subscribe. I hope you share what you gain from those insights and those readings, and comment the different ways that you think those two can be brought together. And we'll see you on the next one. Keep standing tall.